with Hillary Clinton's emails, almost 15,000 of them that the FBI has uncovered from her private server or from other accounts and handed over to the State Department. The scandal over her private server and the Clinton Foundation has been going on for a year now, more than a year. What makes you think that there is a game changer in this new batch?
Well, Chris, first, thanks for having me and giving the campaign a platform this morning. Hillary Clinton achieved something this week that even I am impressed with. She made her trust problem even worse. And the new Quinnipiac poll out this week shows that 66% of Americans say that she is dishonest, 29% think she's honest. Those numbers have actually gotten worse since she announced her campaign over a year ago. And she's earned that dishonesty and that untrustworthiness because of the ever-growing scandalabra, the incidents that you just laid out, that even though she said she had turned over all the emails to the FBI as part of their investigation, it turns out she has not. And what Director Comey said last month, about her being reckless and careless, about things that she had said not turning out not to be true, the number of devices, the classified information, we see that there's still more happening. And what is really amazing to me, as put forth by ABC News last night in a report, laid out by the Associated Press this week, Chris, these aren't right-wing websites. This is the Associated Press and ABC showing Americans the revolving door between the State Department and the Clinton Foundation, and Americans have a right to be concerned. This is our State Department. This is our public entity. We don't want a straight line between the Clinton bank account, the State Department, the Clinton Foundation, and it shows Americans how she may do business if she were elected in the White House.
All right, you've got your own issues with the Trump campaign. This week began with Donald Trump, appearing to back away from his pledge during the primaries that he was going to deport all 11 million illegals who are in this country. But by the end of the week, he seemed to be backing away from backing away. Here he is.
There certainly can be a softening because we're not looking to hurt people. We want people. We have some great people in this country. I don't think it's a softening. I think it's...
But 11 million people are no longer going to be deported.
I've had people say it's a hardening, actually.
But also they still have to leave the country.
But there is no path to legalization unless they leave the country and come back.
Kellyanne, please clear this up for me. Is Donald Trump saying that if someone has come into this country illegally, so they broke the law, but they have broken no laws since then, been in the country for 10 years, 20 years without breaking any other laws, is he still going to deport them or is he going to let them stay?
So what he has said is very consistent, Chris. Number one, and this is important, the signature piece of his legislation and his campaign has always been build the wall. That has not changed. Build the wall. No amnesty, no citizenship, no more sanctuary cities. You know, the face of our campaign are people like Michelle and Julie and Laura and Agnes, these angel moms who stood with Donald Trump in different forms just this week, Chris, talking about their grievous losses, the loss of their children, all of whom were murdered by illegal immigrants who should not have been there. That's also part of Donald Trump's plan.
But
those who
Kellyanne,
have committed a crime, you're out of here.
If I may respectfully,
yes.
If he said in the campaign, and he said it on the debate stage, I was there as one of the moderators, I'm going to set up a deportation force and all 11 million people who have come into this country illegally have to go. Do they or don't they?
Now is that he will look at that, but he wants to look, the softening is more approach than policy, Chris. In the clip that you just played, you heard the words that followed it, that we need to have a fair and humane way of addressing the fact that 11 million, or we don't even know the number, 11 million or so as it is estimated, illegal immigrants live among us. He wants to find a fair and humane way, and if you enforce the law and you deal with those agencies that already exist to enforce the law, then we'll see what we've got. I mean, nobody bothers to enforce the law. Washington always layers new laws on top of laws that don't work or aren't enforced to pretend to the American people that they're somehow being active on an issue. But I think it's important to look at the 5 or 6, 7 main tenets in his overall plan.
I understand those, and I think you made them clear. I just want to be clear, though. What you seem to be saying is you're leaving the door open that President Trump would consider the possibility of giving people who have not committed more crimes to living in this country legally.
What he has said is no legalization and no amnesty. He also said this week, Chris, that if you'll go back to your home country, and if you'd like to come back into the United States as an immigrant, you need to apply through the many different channels that allow people to apply for citizenship or entry into the United States legally. And so that's important. We all learned in kindergarten to stand in line to wait our turn. He is saying that as well. Now, the deportation force, I would like to address that. He hasn't mentioned that since last November or so, and I think in a few of the debates, as you point out. And then if you look at his convention speech last month, he's consistent on that now in terms of addressing these many different areas of a very complex issue. But I would really implore the viewers, Chris, and others, to look at the contrast between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton on immigration. There are very few issues where they're more different. In fact, Hillary Clinton is to the left of Barack Obama on immigration. She has been critical of President Obama deporting what's close to 2 million or more in some estimates immigrants in this country. She said that she will use executive amnesty. She's for catch and release. She's for these sanctuary cities that harbor illegal immigrants. In the case of Kate Steinle, the man who murdered her right in front of her father over a year ago, Chris, he had been deported 5 times. Why is he here? So everybody needs to be looked up. Everything needs to be examined and looked upon. But give Donald Trump credit for at least trying to address a complex issue and not pretending like Hillary Clinton does that we don't have these problems.
All right, let's move on to another one. Donald Trump has also been reaching out to African Americans this week asking, what do you have to lose after decades of Democratic neglect? Here he is.
Poverty, rejection, horrible education, no housing, no homes, no ownership, crime at levels that nobody's seen.
But Kellyanne, that totally misrepresents what blacks face in this country. Trump says black youth unemployment is 58%. It's actually 19%. 26% of blacks live in poverty. That's not good, but the vast majority do not. How can Trump address the problem when he doesn't seem to understand what it really is?
So as I understand it, Chris, the 58% refers to the number of African-American youth who are not working. And but you're right. We're also taking our message to African-Americans who are concerned about other things like lending, like housing, like discrimination. They may live in safe neighborhoods with fine schools, but it certainly isn't what their children deserve. They deserve the same high-quality education as other children, and that's his point. And I sat with him and African Americans on Wednesday, I believe it was, or Thursday, and we had a roundtable, and it was a very productive conversation where he did most of the listening, and they laid out their concerns, they laid out their achievements. Yes. I
don't mean to interrupt, but we are running out of time, and I want to pick up on exactly that. Trump has been running for president, though, Kellyanne, since June of 2015. That's 14 months. Question, how many times has he gone into an American inner city and held an event for a largely black audience?
I don't know the answer, but I can tell you there are some.
Let me just say, would you be surprised if the answer is none? Never?
No, I would not be surprised, and I will tell you, Chris, and I pledge to you and everybody who's watching that those events are actually being planned, and we're very excited about them. And look, John McCain and Mitt Romney are fine. They're wonderful human beings, great Americans. They were fine presidential nominees. John McCain got 4% of the African-American vote, and Mitt Romney improved that to a whopping 6%. We're fighting for every single vote, and we're going to leave it all in the field, and that includes going where the voters are and taking the case directly to them
you say that
in their churches.
But you say that. The fact is, in 14 months, he's never once been in an inner city and held an event for black Americans. And there's a tweet that Mr. Trump sent yesterday, I'm sure you're familiar with it, that's gotten a lot of attention after the tragic shooting of the cousin of basketball star Dwayne Wade. Trump tweeted, just what I've been saying, African Americans will vote Trump. Do you think it's right to have that kind of a political response to a personal tragedy?
I was pleased that his next tweet expressed his condolences to the Wade family about the death of his cousin. But that horrifying example of a woman who had just signed up her children for school, pushing a baby stroller, that is a nonpartisan issue that should sicken us all. And I also would express my condolences to the entire family, and I'm pleased that he did. But Chris, I'm new to this post, and he's going to take this case right to people where they live. And that includes everyone. We're vying for every vote, every ethnicity, both genders, every age group. This is an American presidential election, and he is going to, I mean, look what Hillary Clinton did this week. My goodness, she missed another opportunity to deliver a speech about Obamacare, or energy, or infrastructure, or the economy, or ISIS. She went and she elevated personal insults into an art form.
Well, let me ask you. Let me ask you about
talking policy.
Let me ask you about that, because Hillary Clinton, in the speech you're talking about, said that Donald Trump is taking hate groups mainstream. Here she is.
Racists now call themselves.
She's making personal insults, but I mean, she does have a point. The new CEO of the campaign, I guess he's your boss, is Steve Bannon, who's the head of Breitbart News. And here are some of the headlines that Bannon has written on Breitbart. Birth control makes women unattractive and crazy. And would you rather your child had feminism or cancer? And he has called, Breitbart has called Bannon has called Breitbart the platform for the alt-right. Question, this is the man Trump chose to run his campaign?
Well, he chose me to manage his campaign, and I report directly to him. But I will say this. The idea that Hillary Clinton, who has been in public life for 30 years, gives a speech this week, Chris, about, it was totally content-free, policy-free address about consultants is just remarkable to me. And I understand Hillary's campaign is now a hot mess. Revelation after revelation, the Clinton Foundation, the State Department, brand new reports just overnight. And it's reflected in the polls. There's a new poll this morning by Morning Consult showing that we cut her lead nationally from 6 points to 3 points in just a matter of 2 weeks. Why? Because people are uncomfortable voting for someone that they think is corrupt and rigged. I know she's trying to divert attention away from her campaign and her State Department email scandals, Clinton Foundation, foreign donations in the tens of millions of dollars by talking about consultants. But the fact is that the hot mess that has become the Hillary candidacy cannot escape the fact that a majority of Americans think she is corrupt and rigged, and they're not going to want that in their next president.
Finally, I've got about 30 seconds left. There is a report that Donald Trump is going to be holding a debate prep session today at his golf course in New Jersey. One, is that true? And secondly, how is he preparing for debates? Are you having mock sessions? Is it true that Laura Ingraham is going to play Hillary Clinton? Is he cramming thick briefing books?
Well, I'll be at lunch at Bedminster, and I'm sure we'll have a very lively conversation. Look, he's an unconventional candidate, and he's not going to prepare the way Hillary does, which is, you know, lock her in a room and cram her head with all these binders and get the Hollywood types that she raised gazillions of dollars with in fundraisers this week instead of standing with sanctuary city moms, you know, who've lost their children. She was in Hollywood raising money. She'll have them helping her consult. He will be prepared for these debates. All of his policy prescriptions that he's putting out just in the last 2 weeks, Chris, on defeating radical Islamic terrorism, on middle-class tax relief, on law enforcement, on taking his case to the communities of color.
But is he going to hold, just real quickly, is he going to hold mock debates?
He may. But remember, he's an unconventional, and this idea of role-playing Hillary Clinton, Laura is a friend of all of ours, and we appreciate any insight and advice that she is willing to give in her very busy life. We take advice and we take counsel from many different people who have experience and mean to be helpful. But this, you know, the Donald Trump, the authentic Donald Trump, right, who's been taking his case directly to the voters, is the one that you will see on the debate stage with Hillary Clinton. And I think they're nervous over in Clinton camp because he is he's the unpredictable X factor. She is the scripted statist Hillary Clinton that, you know, that basically needs to memorize lines. You saw these 2 interviews she gave by phone this week on cable stations. She obviously was reading something somebody gave her. I didn't think they went that well. The scarcity as a strategy that they use for Hillary Clinton, making sure that we don't see that much of her, that changes when she's forced to get to the debate stage. And so he will be preparing in a very different way.
All right. We're going to leave it there. Kellyanne.